बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहिल्लज़ी लम यज़ल आलिमन क़ादिरन हय्यन क़य्यूमन समीअन बसीरा वस्सलातु वस्सलामु अल अतम्मानिल अकमलान अला मन उर्सिला इला काफ़तिल ख़ल्क़ि बशीरन व नज़ीरा व दाइयन इलल्लाहि बिइज़निहि व सिराजम मुनीरा अला इन्नहु सल्लल्लाहु तआला अलैहि वसल्लम हब्लुल्लाहि व निअमतुहुल कुबरा जअलल्लाहु तआला लिल खलाइक़ि अजमईन ज़हीरा मन इअतसम बिही फ़क़द नजा व मन ख़ालफ़ अन्हु फ़क़द गवा व लम यजिद अहदन वलिय्यन वला नसीरा व अला आलिहि व सहबिहि व अहलि बैतिहि अबदियन दहरियन कसीरन कसीरा अम्मा बअदु फ़अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम क़ालल्लाहु तआला फ़िल क़ुरआनिल मजीद क़ुल इन्ना स्वलाती व नुसुकी व महयाय व ममाती लिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन सदक़ल्लाहुल अज़ीम व सदक़ रसूलुन नबियुल अमीनुल करीम इन्नल्लाह व मलाइकतहु युसल्लूना अलन नबी या अय्युहल्लज़ीना आमनू सल्लू अलैहि व सल्लिमू तस्लीमा अस्सलातु वस्सलामु अलैका या सय्यदी या रसूलल्लाह व अला आलिका व अस्हाबिका या हबीबल्लाह अस्सलातु वस्सलामु अलैका या सय्यदी या रसूलल्लाह वअला आलिका व अस्हाबिका या नबी अल्लाह अस्सलातु वस्सलामु अलैका या सय्यदी या रसूलल्लाह वअला आलिका व अस्हाबिका या खातमुल आलमीन. In the Quran Majid, in Surah Al-An'am, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says to His beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, O beloved, declare that surely my salah, my namaz, and my sacrifice, and my life, and my death are for Allah, who is Rabbul Alameen, the Rabb, the creator, the sustainer of all the worlds, of all creation. So in this ayah, we are clearly being told, a message is being conveyed, that all of our acts of worship, जितनी हमारी इबादत है, वो सिर्फ और सिर्फ खालिसन अल्लाह के लिए है. And it is also mentioned in Surah Al-Kahf, فَمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو لِقَاءَ رَبِّهِ فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا وَلَا يُشْرِكْ بِعِبَادَةِ رَبِّهِ أَحَدًا. That whoever hopes to meet his Rabb, then he should perform good deeds and he should not ascribe partners, he should not ascribe anyone as a partner in the worship of his Rabb. So here, once again, what is being commanded is to be sincere in our acts of worship. यानी इबादत के अंदर मुखलिस हो जाओ. We are living in a time and age in which almost everybody has a smartphone, and everything that we do, we publicize it. Whatever we are doing, if we are doing Umrah, and the Umrah ibadah that we do, it is not fard. The फराइज वर्शिप, जो फ़राइज़ है, वो एलानिया आप अदा करें ताकि लोग आपको फासिक ना समझे कि अल्लाह की नाफरमानी करता है. तो वो एलानिया होनी चाहिए. कौन सी इबादत? जो फ़र्ज़ है, नमाज, रोज़ा, ज़कात, हज. इसके अलावा जितनी इबादत हैं जो नफली है, उनको छुपाने का हुक्म है, छुपाने का हुक्म नहीं है. We have been instructed to conceal our acts of worship as they are only for Allah. Only for Allah. And in this day and age, everything that we do, we are doing tawaf, we are doing 1 umrah, 2 umrah, 3 umrah, then they'll say, Alhamdulillah, I have just completed my next umrah. They are telling everybody as though the worship is being done to impress the people. लोगों को मुताअत्तिर करने के लिए, उनसे इज्जत हासिल करने के लिए. सुभान अल्लाह, माशाअल्लाह, आप तो बहुत परहेजगार हैं. तो ये सुनने के लिए हम ऐलान करते हैं. चंदा भी अगर हम दें तो हमें चैन नहीं आता कि जब तक हमारा ऐलान ना हो जाए कि फ़लाँ साहब, और अगर 2 आदमी हैं जो सेम नाम के हैं तो नहीं, फ़लाँ इलाके के फ़लाँ साहब, यानी पूरी उसकी उसमें तफसील होनी चाहिए ताकि लोगों को पता चले कि फ़लाँ ने दिया है, जबकि आपने लोगों के लिए तो नहीं दिया. यू हैव गिवन दैट फॉर अल्लाह. सो व्हाई डू यू वांट टू पब्लिसाइज आवर एक्ट्स ऑफ वर्शिप? सो दिस इज एन इलनेस ऑफ द हार्ट. An illness, a disease of the heart known as riya, ostentation, and this is haram. This is haram. So this is why we need to reflect on ourselves. If a person, whatever he is doing, he is always publicizing it, then he is seeking attention from the people. Somebody asks, do you pray your namaz 5 times? He says, Alhamdulillah, not just 5 times. I even pray tahajjud. I pray Ishraq, Chasht, Awabin. I even do Salatul Layl. वो पूरा उसको बता देगा अपनी जहालत के अंदर. तो मैं तो सिर्फ ज़कात नहीं, मैं तो वैसे भी लीला देता रहता हूँ. सो इस तरह आपने हज किया है? नहीं जनाब, एक नहीं, अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह मैंने तो 10 बार, मुझे शरफा से. तो ये क्यों उसको बता रहे हो? ताकि आपको वो अलहाज कहे. So we need to ask ourselves, why are we doing this? Whereas it is solely for Allah. The acts of worship are only for Allah. This has been described by Rasulullah ﷺ as shirk-e asghar. Shirk, a small way of doing shirk. That's why the verse of the Quran says, وَلَا يُشْرِكْ بِعِبَادَةِ رَبِّهِ أَحَدًا. That do not make anybody, do not ascribe anyone as a partner in the worship of your Rabb. जो रब की इबादत है उसमें किसी दूसरे को शरीक क्यों कर रहे हो? लोगों को क्यों बता रहे हो? अगर हम कुरान पाक मुकम्मल करें इसाले सवाब के लिए, उसका भी ऐलान होना चाहिए कि इतने कुरान पाक मुकम्मल हुए हैं. तो ये भी भेजा है. दिस इज़ नॉट जस्टिफाइड, इज नॉट नीडेड. वी शुड जस्ट से दैट व्हाटएवर हैज बीन रिसाइटेड वो अल्लाह के लिए था. तो ये कह दें कि जो कुछ भी पढ़ा गया है, लेकिन उसमें भी ऐलान होता है, चंदे का भी ऐलान होता है. सो दिस, although it is permissible, if you are doing it for doing तरगीब करने के लिए, लोगों को रग़बत दिलाने के लिए, to encourage others, but then you are still at risk. फिर भी रिस्क तो है, but by concealing it there is no risk. There is even a verse of the Quran where it mentions, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la tubtilu sadaqatikum bil manni wal adha. That do not invalidate, O believers, do not invalidate your charity through boasting and by causing anguish, meaning boasting of the favor you have done to someone. So this should not be done. We should not even mention the person who you have given it to, because that person, we should be looking at that person's dignity. उसकी इज्जत नफ्स का भी ख्याल रखना चाहिए. लेकिन we have these illnesses and we want to be boastful and we want our name to be publicized. It is mentioned in Minhajul Abidin, Imam Ghazali alayhi rahmah, he mentions a story that there was a worshipper, an abid. An abid means ibadat guzar, Bani Israel ke, from the Bani Israel, and he would worship Allah. He had been worshipping Allah for many years. And it was brought to his attention that there was a community who started to worship a tree. When it reached his attention, he picked up his axe, kulhadi ko le liya, and he set off to chop the tree down. So en route, raste mein, he met a man who was actually the shaitan. And he said to him, where are you going? He said, I'm going to chop the tree down. He said, why? You go and do your act of worship. Tum apni ibadat karo. Engage in your worship. Why do you want to chop the tree down? It doesn't concern you. Have you been given hukam? Anbiya kiram or Mawjood alayhimus salam. Why they should do it? Why are you doing it? You go and busy yourself in your worship. It doesn't concern you. You have not been ordered to do this. He said no. And then after arguing, they hatapai hui, they wrestled one another. And the Abid, he knocked this man to the ground. He knocked the man to the ground who came in the form of a human being, but it was actually the shaitan. And then whilst he was fighting, he said, okay, I have another idea, stop. He said, what is your idea? He said, you don't seem to be financially well off. I will give you 2 gold coins every day. With those 2 gold coins, you can do your sahri, you can do your iftar comfortably. You can also donate some money to the poor. And you can do other deeni projects. And you will be financially well off. He said, you don't need to be focusing on this tree. If this tree is chopped down, they will sort to worship another tree. They will do sajda to another tree. Because he was a jahil abid. इसलिए जो जाहिल आबिद होता है ना सूफी गैर आलिम उसके साथ शैतान खेलता है क्योंकि इल्म नहीं होता है और आजकल वो पीराने इज़ाम बने हुए हैं पीराने इज़ाम बने हुए हैं कि हम ही पीर हैं जबकि जो आलिम नहीं है वो पीर नहीं हो सकता so then what happened he fell into this trap he returned home the next morning when he woke up he looked under his pillow there were 2 gold coins he was very pleased he did sari iftar and he donated some money. This happened for a few days. But after a few days, when he woke up one day, he looked under the pillow, there was no gold coins. So he became angry once again. He picked up his axe, set off towards the tree, said, I'm going to chop the tree today. On the way, he met that old man again, who was actually the shaitan. And he said, where are you going? He said, I'm going to chop the tree down. He said, no, you're not. And they began to argue, they wrestled, but this time the shaitan overcome him and knocked him to the ground. And they got up, they wrestled again. The second time this happened again. He knocked him to the ground. And then the shaitan said to him, you should go home because you're not going to win anymore. He said, why is that? He said, because before when you came for the rida of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You came for lillah, only for Allah's riza. This was your intention, only for Allah. But now you have come for the gold coins. Now you are not selfless, but you are selfish. You have not come for Allah. अब तो अपने नफ्स के लिए आया है, अपनी लालच के लिए आया है. पहले तो खुदा की रजा के लिए आया था. So now you should return home because you will not be able to overcome me. So this is what some people do. When Khatme Nubuwa was being compromised, the law in Pakistan, and some Pirane Idam, वो अपनी खानकाओं को संभाल रहे थे, अपने मदारिस को संभाल रहे थे, अपनी पीरों, अपने मुरीदों को संभाल रहे थे, लेकिन एहतिजाज नहीं कर रहे थे. They were not coming out to challenge the government. They were not standing up for the namus of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam. It was only Amirul Mujahideen Allama Khadim Hussain Rizvi alayhi rahma wa ridwan who was out there only for the sake of Allah. He had ikhlas, and ikhlas is sincerity. Ikhlas kya hai? Sincerity hai, and the nearest meaning of a hadith it is mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that ikhlas is one of my secrets which I give to those of my servants who I love very much. Allah gives ikhlas to those of His servants, His devotees whom He loves very much. This is ikhlas. It is also mentioned in a hadith which Hazrat Abu Huraira radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, when he was about to narrate this hadith, 3 times he stood up and 3 times he fainted. 3 बार आपने बयान करने की कोशिश की इस हदीस पाक को और 3 बार आप बेहोश हो गए हदीस पाक बयान करने में. And what does he say in the hadith? That on the day of judgment 3 people will be presented in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One will be a person who is a qari. It is mentioned in the hadith, a qari. The other person will be a sakhi, a generous person. The third person will be a shaheed. It is a famous hadith. And Allah will question the qari and say that how did you thank me? तुमने मेरी नेमतों का शुक्र कैसे अदा किया? How did you express your gratitude for the blessings that I favored to you, that I bestowed to you? Then he will say, I propagated knowledge. मैंने खुद भी पढ़ा और लोगों को पढ़ाया. Then he'll say, did you do it for me, for my rida, for my pleasure? Or did you do it so that you would be known as a qari? Because you wanted the title of a qari. And it also applies to ulama, that you wanted to be known as allama. You wanted to be known as alamatul dahr, and this title and that title. Is this why you did it? He'll say, yes, it is the truth. This is why I did it, because I wanted to be famous. I did it for name and fame, as people do today. For name and fame, they publicize their worship. They publicize their donations. They don't do it secretly. कि एक मुसलमान भाई की तरफ छुपके से नहीं देते, क्योंकि वो ऐलान चाहते हैं, रोटी ही हजम नहीं होती. Name and fame. This is why they do it. He said, this is why he did it. And Allah will say, then I gave you that name and fame. मैंने तुम्हें कारी कहलवाया, आलिम कहलवाया, अब इसको जहन्नम में ले जाओ. Now take him to the hellfire. Similarly, the sakhi, the generous one, will be questioned. That how did you will be presented in the court of Allah. How did you express your gratitude for my favors that I bestowed upon you? He will say that I would donate vast amount of money that you had blessed me with. But did you do it for my rida? Did you do it for my pleasure to please me? Allah will question. He will. Or did you do it because you wanted to be renowned as a generous person, as a sakhi? He'll say, yes, this is why I did it. Like log mujhe sakhi samjhe, isliye maine kiya. Allah will say, then I made you renowned. Log tujhe sakhi kehte the, maine tujhe wo cheez de di, ab isko jahannam mein le jao. And similarly, the shaheed will be brought into the court of Allah. He will also be questioned that why did you sacrifice your life? Did you sacrifice it to serve Islam for my rida? Or did you do it because you wanted to be famously known as a martyr, as a hero? He'll say, yes, this is why I did it. Allah will say that I made you famous. You were given the title of a martyr, of a hero, and now take this individual to Jahannam. The Sahaba Kiram Ridwanullahi Ta'ala alayhim ajmain, they were pekare sidko ikhlas. They were embodiments of truthfulness and sincerity. Everything they did was yabtaguna fadlam min Allahi wa ridwana. They would only seek the bounty, the fadl of Allah and His pleasure. Every act of worship that they would do. Mawla Ali Sher Khuda radiyallahu ta'ala an, he was in the battlefield fighting a kafir. Look at his ikhlas. Whilst he is fighting that kafir, he overcomes this kafir, knocks him to the ground. This is why they say that La fata illa Ali, La sayfa illa Zulfiqar, Sayyidul Awliya, Karamallahu wajhahu. What does he say? That he is sitting on top of the kafir, sitting on his chest, and he is about to kill him. गर्दन को जिस्म से अलग करने वाले थे, जब वो बदबख्त ने आपके चेहरे पाक पर थूक दिया, उस काफिर ने थूक दिया आपके चेहरे पर, वो चेहरा कि जिसको देखना इबादत है. अन्नज़रु इला वजहि अलीय्यिन इबादा, हदीस पाक. To look at the beautiful and blessed face of Sayyidina Ali is ibadah. But then Hazrat Ali was an embodiment of ikhlas, of sincerity, of truthfulness. He leaves him. He stands up and the kafir questions that you had me under your control. He said, when I was fighting you, I came into the battlefield for the pleasure of Allah, to please Allah. When I was striking you for the pleasure of Allah. When I was defending myself, I was defending you for the pleasure of Allah, for the rida of Allah. But when you spat in my face, I am also a human. Then my nafs also became involved. Then it would have been partly for Allah and partly for myself. And Ali does not do anything for himself. Ali does not do anything for himself. Whatever he does, as the Sahaba Kiram would do, it is only for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he did not kill him. When this kafir saw this noble gesture by Mawla Ali radiyallahu an, he said, now I understand Islam. He immediately embraced Islam. Islam mein dakhil ho gaye, kalima sharif pad liya. And then he said, from now, my sword will only be raised for the honor and protection of Islam, for the propagation of Islam. This is how Islam spread, by removing the kufr, not the kafir. And there are many stories where people are selfless. Ummul Mu'mineen Sayyida Aisha Siddiqa radiyallahu ta'ala anha, she was given a maid by Hazrat Uthman Ghani. And instead of making the maid work for her, she would also support the maid and do all the housework herself. Sayyida Aisha Siddiqa, binte Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu anhuma. But once, when a beggar came to the door, instead of going out to give to the beggar, she sent the maid and said, go and give the money to the beggar. She said, why did you do this? She said, because I did this act for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She said, the maid would have given you dua, but this is the Ahlul Bayt of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam. And the Quran says, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَىٰ حُبِّهِ, that they feed the food in the love of Allah, only for the love of Allah. Miskeenan wa yatiman wa asira, to the destitute, to the orphan and to the prisoners. And why do they do it? वो शुक्रिया के हासिल करना भी नहीं चाहते. कुरान कहता है इन्नमा नुतइमुकुम लिवजहिल्लाह ला नुरीदु मिनकुम जज़ाअन वला शुकूरा. That they only feed for the pleasure of Allah. सिर्फ अल्लाह की रजा हासिल करने के लिए वो अपने नेक काम बजा लाते हैं. That we only fed you for the pleasure of Allah. हमें जज़ा और शुक्र की भी तलब नहीं है. We do not want to be rewarded. We do not want to hear jazakallah. We do not want to even hear thank you, as we have done it only for Allah. This is how our pious predecessors, the Aslaf, would conceal the acts of their worship, their donation, their nafli ibadah, which is the hukum for us. This is a lesson for us all, that we be sincere in all of our nafli ibadah, and we should not be publicizing it. We should not be broadcasting on social media, on our mobile phones, and letting everybody know that I have completed an umrah, I have completed a tawaf, because the reward lies with Allah. Just as we conceal our money, we don't go around telling people I've got 100,000 pounds at home, I've got 10,000. This is even more precious. But we are putting them to waste, then the reward with Allah will become batil, it will be nullified, you will get no reward. Allah will say on the day of judgment, go and take your reward from those people who you were trying to please. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all ikhlas in our aqidah and in our a'mal. Wa akhiru da'wana anil